Folks, this week on Drag Racing Live, we welcome longtime Jet Dragster exhibition star Jeff Atamian. Jeff drives the Beast Jet Dragster. With more than 5 decades in motorsports and nearly 30 years behind the wheel of one of drag racing's most spectacular exhibition machines, Jeff joins us to discuss life at 300 miles an hour, the unique world of jet-powered racing, and why fans still pack the fences to see the Beast perform. Jeff Atamian, welcome to the show.
Good evening, guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Love having you there. Let's talk about where you are. You're in your beautiful home there with the buffalo behind you. Tell us a little bit about that guy.
I just happened to pick him up. We brought him home, and the wife decided to call him Bill. So you guys got a lot in common. So it's Buffalo Bill, one of our guests. We don't have to feed it. We've got plenty of cats and other animals that we feed, ducks, geese over here. And just something to enjoy, that doesn't break, that I don't have to work on.
I love it. Much like a Jet Dragster.
No tuning it up. Yeah, kind of, yeah. Don't have to do any adjusting on it.
Well, great to have you with us. And we're going to watch the beautiful California sun go down there behind you as we do our show. But Jeff, you've been racing since 1975. But for almost 30 years, fans have known you as the driver of the Beast Jet Dragster. What keeps bringing you back to the cockpit after all these years?
Adrenaline. That's all it is. Just adrenaline junkie. I love it. Can't get enough of it. Wish there were more tracks in California, but that's the key word, is California. So we have to go to the east, and I can only afford to go so far. And otherwise, I'd be all over the country. I get calls from all over the country, but, it's just feasibly not practical.
Got it. Well, you're out there, knocking heads with the best of the best. I know that looking at the drag racing lists earlier tonight, we take you all the way back to 1986 or 85 or 86 with the Meltdown Top Alcohol Dragster.
Right.
But you actually raced the Iron Horse before that. Tell us a little bit about those days.
Iron Horse, front engine car. My parents went out of town on a vacation, Labor Day weekend, 1975. I was in college working a part-time job. They came home on Sunday, Labor Day weekend, to open the garage and find a single axle trailer in there with a front engine dragster sitting on top of the trailer, 120-inch wheelbase, no engine, no transmission. A few months later, I had an engine transmission, went to Bakersfield for Mimosa to race it. Had a standard 3-speed transmission standard, pushed you left and second, and then into high, and went through the finish line. First pass ever down a racetrack was 12.5 seconds at 138 miles an hour. My dad said I was just beaming at the other end when I got out of the car. Made 3 passes. The third pass, when I pulled the chutes, pushed the clutch in, the chassis broke right under the front engine mount. So it scraped all the way to the stopping point. We had to go get the flatbed trailer, drag it to the very end of the track, and try to jerk the car up on top of it. I had no welding experience. My dad worked at Sears. I bought an oxygen acetylene outfit. I bought 4 pieces, 20-foot lengths of steel, seamed steel, mild steel, 1 5/8" diameter, and I went from a 120-inch car to a 156-inch wheelbase. And only the reason I didn't go any longer is it wouldn't fit in the trailer. And if I went any longer, the trailer wouldn't fit in the garage. So, yeah, that was my first. And then with that, I started with an 850 double pumper, got it into the 9s, 160-ish miles an hour. Then I went to the Dominator carburetors, picked up speed. Then I went to Enderley injectors. That was into the high 7s at 180, 182. And kept killing transmissions, Power Glide transmissions. I couldn't get them to live. 4,500 stall speed converter. I just smoked them things. Don't know what I was doing wrong, but anyway. So I went and bought. I got out. I was done. I was frustrated. That lasted a week, and I couldn't take the withdrawals. So I went out and bought the Valley Fever Top Fuel car. Rance McDaniels used to drive it, nitro car. And they'd parted ways, and it was for sale. So I bought it, went blown alcohol racing for 10 more years. Against the best. I mean, back then, from the 80s, the middle 80s to the 90s, in California, I go to a Sears Point, Bakersfield, Fremont. You had 30, 32 cars competing for a 16-car field. And you had these guys like Alan Johnson, Blaine Johnson. You didn't have a chance against these cars. There was such good racers. And mine was cast iron. It was an iron block, bow tie block, and iron heads. I couldn't afford any aluminum. The iron block filled full of dental plaster to make it more rigid. I never blew one up, but I would run 630s and 640s at 222. They were running 590s at 245, 250, you know, and now, hell, they're in the low fives at, I don't know, 280s, 270, 280.
Yep.
So, yeah, I couldn't compete with them anymore. So I sold the car, lasted another couple of weeks, withdrawals. You know, they don't have rehab for racers. I don't care what happens. They got things for battered women, alcoholics, drug abusers. But man, when you got a race car and you quit racing, it's horrible. So had a friend. We went partners on a Top Fuel nostalgia dragster, and just didn't work out the partnership. So we split our ways and took our parts and whatever. And I had this chunk of money, and I've always wanted to go big game hunting in Africa. So do I go to Africa or do I buy a jet car? Because that's what I got introduced to in 1967. My cousin took me a place, Raisin City, and I saw my first two jets. It was US-1 and the Green Mamba, the two jet cars. And it bit me. I mean, I was bit, but hell, how can I ever do that? Well, over the progression, it was like, do I go to Africa big game hunting? It's going to be a once in a lifetime, or do I take this money and go buy a jet car? There's your answer. No regrets. And, well, there have been some. Occasionally I go, what the hell am I doing here? But it's been a continual learning curve. Yeah, we're not as fast as a Top Fuel John Force operation, but it's plenty fast for me, and it's got a whole different feeling. Since I've driven both, any piston car, I don't care if it's a roundy round car, straight line, whatever, when you snap your foot off the throttle, the car starts to decelerate instantly. And you have a supercharger and your gear ratio and huge tires, everything starts dragging speed off the car. That's not true with a jet. And that was my first scary moment, going through the finish line and pulling the chute. And due to the length and the size of the chute, it takes almost 2 seconds in my car for the chute to fully deploy and blossom. Well, in 2 seconds, your car hasn't slowed down one bit. If you went through at 260, 2 seconds later, you're still going through at 260, and you're just chewing up valuable racetrack. And that was the part that scared the bejeebies out of me, is that and when the chute hits, oh man, you know it's open. They're 16-foot ring slot chutes that come off of fighter jets. And, you know, the eyeballs feel like they're coming out of the socket. The crotch belt, great feeling when it tightens everything up down there, because you know everything is working and you're slowing down. You don't feel that feeling, man, you better be on the secondary chute, because you are running out of track. That was a huge, most notable difference between a piston car and a jet car. And the fact where we mount the mounting points on the jet for the parachute shroud lines are very high to keep them away from the tailpipe, because everything is glowing red hot back there. So because of the fulcrum, the angle when the parachute blossoms, it picks the front end of the car up off the ground more violently when you're at a track like Sonoma, Sears Point, Seattle, Washington, Sacramento, where the air is heavy. When you got dense air, it's violent when the chute comes out. We can't do wheel stands on the starting line. That'll never happen. But the front end comes up in the finish line when the chute blossoms. And that's a freaky feeling, because especially at night, you lose all, and it doesn't last that long, a second and a half. But I mean, you're up there and one little finger can turn that car, because there's no resistance now on the front end. So when the car goes up, and you drive these cars with one hand, your left hand holds the steering wheel and your right hand is holding the throttles, the fuel pumps, and the parachute release. When you hit the finish line, you pull the parachute release straight back, and it grabs both fuel pumps and at one motion shuts the pumps off and deploys the chute. Still driving with one hand. When the front end of the car comes up off the ground, you have instant power steering, and a little baby with one little finger can turn the steering wheel. And when the car comes back down, boom, I usually want to turn to the left a little bit, because, you know, eventually you get smart enough to know, put your elbow into your gut, because when the car comes up, don't let your arm or your hand come down towards your leg, because the steering's going to turn, and when the car settles back down, you're going to make a left-hand turn. For me. Now I've scared all the jet car guys. They want to be in the
Yeah, it is not a deft, delicate thing to drive one of these things, is it?
No, it's different. I really enjoy a piston car. I love the feel of the vibration through the frame rail of the piston, the combustion and all that. You don't get that with a jet. If you're feeling shaking and vibration, you better shut it off because something's coming apart. They run very smooth. Our big show is on the starting line. I've found over the years, really the spectators, either they're drunk or they don't care how fast we go at the other end. They want that starting line show. That's what turns them on. And I enjoy that. You know, I mean, NHRA lets us run 30 gallons of fuel. My fuel tanks are full of 30 gallons, and I'm going to use as much as I can on the starting line. Basically, I burn 10 gallons during the burner show, and the actual run will burn 20 gallons on the run. So there's your 30 gallons. And that's adjusted depending upon atmospheric conditions. If the track, there's nothing you can do to a jet to make it go faster. You can adjust fuel to the tailpipe, to the afterburner, and that's it. There's no other really tricks once you're at the racetrack. It's not like, okay, we can put more compression in it, change mag timing, up the percentage of nitro. These things just don't exist with a jet. The people that made them are very smart. Westinghouse, General Electric, you know, they weren't stupid people. For us to go and exceed the operating RPM of the motor usually means they're going to explode and come apart on you. So faster isn't better with a jet engine like a piston motor. So, you know, there's my answer.
I love it. Well, my so great. We got a lot more questions, but that was fantastic. Let's talk about adrenaline. I mean, obviously, you know, two wheels in the air at 250 or so is probably adrenaline generating, but you've driven everything from front engine dragsters, you know, to the Alki car to the jet powered exhibition car. Which ride gave you the biggest adrenaline rush and why? You may have just answered that, but I mean,
Well, believe it or not, the front engine car did. You know, little 156-inch wheelbase injected, used to run water in the block, and you would end up like any guy that's sitting behind the engine with hot oil, hot water, fuel leak, spraying in your face, wiping your goggles. I mean, I used to use the full mask with, you know, the goggles, and you try to go through the lights and see where you're at, and, you know, you're getting sprayed with boiling water because, you know, I mean, nobody uses water anymore, but I was stupid, young. You got to have water. It's got water in the block. Why wouldn't you put water in it to keep it cool? But I mean, I loved it because you could manhandle that little front engine car, kind of probably like a funny car where you got, you know, some say so. When I bought the rear engine car, the Valley Fever meltdown car, during my licensing pass, I was going through a divorce, and I made 5 passes in one day, and I was just hating the world. And I went through the lights at Bakersfield sideways, and they could read the whole side of my car from the starting line. I was that crossed up. Bad enough that it laid the wing over. It bent the struts on the wing over from the side loading. So each one's had its, you know, but I will tell you with the jet car, I shouldn't say this, it scares the crap out of me. To this day, 31 years of driving it, I would never think about doing nothing sideways. My motto is, I mean, if something goes wrong, if something's happening in the other lane, you chop the throttle, you get out of it. You're not going to manhandle a jet car like you would a piston car. It doesn't. The rotating assembly in my engine is almost 800 pounds, turning 13,700 RPM. That's a hell of a gyro to get sideways.
right.
And it doesn't, you know, if you had a jet car, I got a jet car, we negotiate with the racetrack how much you want to get paid, or you just want to run the car for free for seat time, whatever. You really don't care if I win. I really don't care if you win. Both of us want to kick each other's butt for bragging rights, but it doesn't do any good if you crash the car. It's not like you needed to qualify to come back for round one. There is no round one. And that's the other thing that's bad about a jet car, where I'm all nutted up before we start, because we just go to Albuquerque. It's 1,000-mile one way from my house. You get there. The last time I have driven the car might have been 3 weeks earlier at another racetrack. You can't exactly start it up and test things out because it's got a thing coming out the back end. It's pretty deadly. So your first pass in front of the grandstands is your exhibition run in front of thousands of people, and you're hoping, God, please, igniters fire off. Please have enough power with the 4 batteries to turn the starter that turns the engine over. You know, you're just going through your mind, and you're watching, just burning a hole in the EGT gauge and the percent gauge, which is an RPM gauge, and you're looking at that only. You don't care anything else. until the engine gets to like 17%, which is, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 RPM, and you hear the whine, and then you can see the needle flip up because it's feeling heat, the EGT gauge. At that point, all that scary stuff is gone. Now it's okay. If the car is going to start, it's good. But to that point, I have never not fired. I have never not put on a show. And that's kind of my own, I don't want to ever be a disappointment to the fans or to the racetrack. Right. Racetrack, if you're getting paid, they'll cut your pay. You didn't run, you broke, you did. Why should I pay you? You know, they're my boss. You know, it's not, I'm working for them. Now, they don't turn around and give the people in the grandstands money back. Here's $2 on your entry because you didn't get to watch a jet car. But I can find some wood, knock on it later. But that's one thing that I can be proud of, that my team, me, whatever, 100%, and there's no lollygagging around. Let's get this car turned around, do everything we need to do after our pass. Then you can have a drink. Then you can eat. Then you can go to the bathroom. Until then, this thing, we need to be ready for the racetrack when they call us, because they hired us to put on a show. Yeah,
it is a show, right? And with the jet cars, and you know, one of the things you mentioned, and I don't want to bring up like bad memories, and we've lost some jet car drivers, and I think in almost every case, is they were trying to save the run beyond where they should have got out of it. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but and a lot of young folks, bless their hearts, a lot of young folks getting behind these sorts of cars over the years, that it was just, you know, it's probably a little too early. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but you got to know when to not let your ego get ahead of your
that's true. And that's the whole thing about a piston car. You've got to qualify. You've got to be there. I mean, you might have a match race, but it's all about, if you don't qualify Thursday or Friday or Saturday, you ain't going to be there on Sunday. We're not qualifying. We're already there on Saturday or Sunday. We're putting on a show. I had a top fuel car at Sacramento. The guy that owns the track, he passed away recently, and I raced him about 4 years ago. And his car ended up in my, he's got out on me, and he ended up in my lane. And I had friends that were there that are pilots, and they said, I could not believe how fast, Jeff, you shut that motor down. It's incredible that you were able to react. And well, I was scared shitless because he's in my lane and I'm going to clobber him. Yeah. So there's no point in trying to drive around him. Just abort the run. It's over. And they came and thanked me that I didn't slam into him. And, it's kind of bad when you got 5,000 degrees of fire coming out the back end. I mean, this is real final stuff. You can't get out of shape behind a jet car and survive it. It's bad.
It's going to go where you point it, right?
Yes. And that was my other learning experience with the jet when I was getting licensed, is that you need to be in where you want to be at about the 1,000-foot mark, because it's kind of got a mind of its own, because you don't have downforce. We don't run wings on the front of jets. I think the reason is if a canard or a wing were to break, now you've got an airplane. You could have lift. And it doesn't mean it's going to go straight up down the track. I mean, it could lift, turn right, turn left, and end up in the grandstands or something. I mean, thank God the grandstands are way before the finish line. But that's the scary thing, is that you can't. I mean, I can remember trying to move the car back into the center of the track because it was pushing to the right, and it just wasn't responding. And it's because it's just skimming over. And that was during tire changes and all that. NHRA decided that there was a crash, and everybody was running anything. And one car had 3 different tires on it, different manufacturers. And what are you guys doing? Well, there's no rule in the rule book. Well, there is now. So when you change tires, you've changed the angle, the levelness of the car, wrong word. And the thing is supposed to be designed with 1 degree down angle. So when the engine sits in the car on absolute flat ground, it should be pointing into the ground, trying to shove the nose into the ground. My car, when I got it with the tire changes and stuff, was probably at 0 or maybe a little bit up. So that's why it was so ill handling. It goes faster. You will go faster at 0 or up, but you don't have the downforce to keep the car where you want it to go. So
fascinating. Oh my gosh. Well, you may have just covered this with a story or two, but you've traveled around the country, certainly the West Coast, for decades. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened during a race weekend, whether it was on the track, in the pits, or maybe even getting to the next show?
There's been a couple of now you mentioned, okay. 1997, we were headed to Salt Lake City. I had just bought a cell phone, and back then they were black, They looked like almost a brick, and they had this stupid antenna you could pull out and then bend your head around and try to talk, and the antenna didn't do anything. So I got the cell phone, and I picked my friends up, and we're headed to Salt Lake City. I've shut the cell phone off because I'm the only one that's going to need it, and I don't want the battery to go dead because either they didn't have them or I couldn't afford a charger from the cigarette lighter to the cell phone. So I've got a phone if I need one, but it's off. My wife's trying to get a hold of me for hours, and she can't reach me because the phone's off. Well, what happened is Salt Lake City called and says the race is canceled. It's an 800-mile drive. It's canceled because it rained so hard in our pits the other day, or at the track. The pits is underwater. The track is fine, but there's nowhere to park the race cars, so we're pulling a plug. Well, I'd already left. I get to the hotel that they booked us in and go check in, and I called her. I said, we made it here. She goes, are you on your way back? You know, she's questioning. I said, no, we got a race tomorrow. She goes, it's canceled. Like, what do you mean it's canceled? Well, I've been trying to get a hold of it. I've called other people to see if they could find you on the freeway. Anyway, we drove all the way to Salt Lake City and had breakfast and turned around and came home. 1,600 miles for breakfast. So that was kind of, then shortly after that, we're going up to Fallon, Nevada. We're going up Donner, which is where the Donner party had finger food and ate each other and all that. And my truck starts making noise. And my friend's behind me, and I'm talking on my phone now because I got a charge cord and I don't worry about it. And he says, what's that noise? I said, I don't know, man. I said, I hear a ticking sound. So we got to the summit, pulled off. It starts snowing. We're at 7,200, whatever the summit is. Pop the hood, and we're listening both sides, and it sounds like something under the valve cover. And go to the other side, it sounds just as loud. So, well, which valve cover should we pull off? And he gets down on his knees and crawls under the pickup truck, and he comes up shaking his head. It ain't the valve cover. He goes, you got something bad down below. So it's snowing. A guy in a yellow tow truck comes through the lot. He goes, you guys need help? And told him what was going on. And I called the racetrack to cancel. I says, you know, I'm like 2 hours away, 100 and something miles. And I says, I've got something wrong with the engine. There's no way I'm going to make it. He went off on me. There's a billboard in the middle of the city with your car advertising this. Well, you've got to be here. I says, well, it's snowing. He goes, we're in a banana belt. It's beautiful over here. You've got to figure out. So my friend says, just pay for the tow bill and go to the race, put on the show. And I asked the guy, he'll pick up with the trailer, tow us to the racetrack, drop us off, come back Sunday morning, pick us up, and bring us all the way back to Madera. And he did.
Wow.
He charged me $1,900. The racetrack paid me $1,500. But I made my commitment. I fulfilled and they were so happy that I was there. So those are the kind of the weird things that happen that nobody hears about. And I spun a rod bearing on the crankshaft of my pickup truck. You know, lucky me. That was the noise.
You made the date, and that, you know, that 30 years of consistent dates, you know, is because you make your dates.
Yeah, you gotta be a man of your word. That's so many other people will just say, you know, it's not worth it. And you know whether or not you can afford to go cross country. They'll tell you that we can afford this much money, we can do this, do that. And it's like, okay, California, price is coming down, but we're talking $7 a gallon for diesel fuel. How far can I go? Now, when you get out of California, the prices drop, but I can't afford to drive cross country. Used to go Denver, Albuquerque. That's about as far as I want. Utah, Idaho. That's as far west as I go. I do a lot of runs in Idaho, a little bit of drag racing, but a lot of car burns in Meridian Speedway and Twin Falls. We torch cars for them. And that's a big thrill for the grandstands. It doesn't do a thing for me because I can't see what's going on. I'll go on YouTube and somebody will post a shaky video with the cell phone. Oh, that's what it looks like a week later, you know.
Yeah, Miss K just sent us one recently, but well, that's great. Let's talk about that though, because I really wanted to get into the Beast itself. What powers it? What kind of performance does it deliver? And what goes into preparing a jet dragster for a weekend of exhibition runs? And especially, you know, what's the difference between your monstrous car and the smaller, often faster because they're so much lighter J85s, and what the different situations are between the two types of cars.
Okay, so I've got a J34 Westinghouse jet. It's got just the engine weighs 1,250 pounds. The afterburner weighs 225 more pounds. The guys that I'm racing against, they're small motor car. Mine's big motor. Excuse me. Their engines weigh 350 to 500 pounds, depending on the 85 weighs 350 pounds approximately. So They're using smaller chutes, their cars weigh in at about, a dragster weighs in at about 12 to 13, maybe a heavy one weighs 1,400 pounds. My car weighs 2,750 pounds. So I'm giving up over 1,000 pounds in weight. My engine makes more power, but only a couple hundred more pounds of thrust than their engines do. But weight is everything. And there's no way, I've looked it over, drilling holes, taking off putting live axles, taking off springs and suspend. There's no way I can get rid of maybe 200 pounds. That's good for 0.2 of a second. I'm still 800 pounds too heavy. So I know when I have to match race a smaller car, small engine car, I'm going to get my ass handed to me. Now I can be a jerk because I carry 30 gallons and these guys are so concerned about only carrying 20, 21 gallons of fuel. They're allowed 30 because they don't want to carry the extra weight because weight slows you down. My comeback to them is put a 30-gallon tank in, burn 10 or 12 gallons during your show, and you're still going to burn the same amount of fuel on your run, but you'll put on a longer show. Mm-hmm. They won't do it. So if I wanted to be a jerk, and there's a few cars I have done it to, I'll put on a long show, and they're done. They're ready to stage. No, you're not, because I'm not done. I've got 30 gallons that I'm gonna lighten my load up. So I keep doing a burner show, and then finally they're sitting there pre-stage and getting very upset. And it's like, I've already told these guys I'm gonna do a long show. I have 30 gallons. I'm gonna use it all. Well, yeah, but I only got. Well, next time build a bigger fuel tank. I'm sorry. So that's that part of it. As far as the preparation, when you get to the track, there's the maintenance you have to do. It's basically all done behind the scenes. You don't change engines at the track. It's not like a fuel car. Yeah, you could a 350-pound motor. How are you going to change a 1,200-pound motor? You can take the afterburner off on mine. That gives rid of 225 pounds. You still have a 1,200-pound motor. 4 guys on each end aren't going to pick it up and move it. So it's you were asking the kind of the procedure. I think I have 4 great big batteries, truck batteries that are tied in series. So the first 2 provide you 25 volts, call it 24, whatever, 24 volts. So you start spinning the engine on 24 volts. When it gets to 10%, which is, I don't know, 1,200, 1,400 RPM, you flip the igniters on, which are 2 spark plugs. Get hit with about 80,000 volts, so you've got spark going. And then you signal the guy that's the crew chief, and he flips the next switch, which ties all 4 batteries, so you have 48 volts, turning the 750-pound shaft to get the thing started. And when it comes to I can hear it at about 18%. You can hear the whine and see the heat starting, and the motor just keeps creeping. You schedule fuel. You give a little bit of fuel, and if you see the temp coming up to you pull back. You pull the fuel away so you don't overtemp the motor. And then when it stabilizes, give it a little bit more fuel. When you get to 40%, which this engine 40% is like 5,500 RPM. That's idle. So when you get to 5,500 RPM, you motion to the guy with the controls. We're good. He stops. He unhooks the starter, puts the starter in the back of the pickup truck, throws the cables that are there back in the back of the pickup truck, hauls, close tailgate, hauls ass to the very, very end of the track. He's that at the end, so he never gets to watch the show, and that sucks for the crew. But he's down there, so when a car comes to a stop, that the red-hot tailpipe glowing doesn't come in contact with the parachute riser lines and the shrouds and all that. You don't want to burn up the chute. So he's there to pull the thing out of the way and then put it in a box and, get it all out. So now at 40%, he's going down track. That's when we start our show, start doing the burner pops. There's another lever that controls another fuel pump, and you push it forward, and then raw fuel is spraying into the tailpipe. You push a button on the steering wheel. It's like throwing a match in there, and it ignites that raw fuel. Boom, you've got fire. The more you make the main engine go faster, there's 2 fuel pumps, the faster the main engine goes, the more power you're making, but the fire now is not as long and not as ratty because you've got more pressure, more oxygen there to burn. Mm-hmm. That's where you're getting your thrust, kind of like an oxygen acetylene outfit. The more as you mix the oxygen and acetylene, the more oxygen you give, the more pointy the blue flame gets, the more power, cutting power a torch has. Same thing with the jet. So we keep going bang, 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 which is part of the show till you get to 100%. And on my car, 100% is 12,700 RPM. At that point, you want to be pre-staged. And now it just depends on the track, where you're at. If you're by yourself, how fast you want to go. You can go continue on up to 108%, and that's about where you want to stop. 108% is now 13,700 RPM. So you're sitting at full power, but the burner's not, no smoke coming out. You get staged, lights come down, you push the other lever forward, it starts dumping a ton of raw fuel into the tailpipe. And when you want it, when the green light or when you're ready to light, you push the button on the steering wheel. There again, it's like throwing a match through the center of the motor. It ignites that raw fuel, that smoke you see coming out the back end. Boom, you're going. Footnote, at Palmdale, when I was first getting my license, you had to make 12 runs in a jet car to get your license. About run number 8, because you're holding a steering wheel with one hand, lighting it with one thumb, holding and moving the 2 levers on the right side for fuel, I was staged and brain fart, old piston day, thinking about gas pedals and stuff. And I lit the burner, but I wasn't ready to go. And my foot was still on the brake for a split second. Well, when I came in, all the guys were saying, you know, we got to tear the master cylinder apart. We need to look at the brakes. There was smoke coming off all 4 of your tires off the bottom. You were skidding going down. And I told one of the guys, I said, you know, wait a minute. I think I might have been a little late on leaving, you know, taking my foot off. No, man, when you light that burner, you're going, whether your foot's on or off the brake. You need to get your foot off the brake. So that was a learning lesson right there. That doesn't come natural. It's not something that's a normal feeling, you know. So, yeah, I flat spotted 4 tires, but whatever. Lauren never did that.
So great. Well, I want to go to John and the team here real quick, but let's finish this conversation. So, because of the type of car you have, you can do those car burns. Tell us a little bit about that, where you hook up a car, you know, you hook up to a chain to an old car and kind of do that.
Right. I've got a heavy heat-treated half-inch link chain, 40 feet long. We go prepare a car, a motor home. I did a school bus at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, a 90-seater school bus years ago. It's on my Facebook page. We take the windows and stuff out of the cars, and then we wrap a chain around the suspension somewhere, the car frame that we're burning, and then come out and wrap the chain around the jet car frame, the lower part of the jet car frame. So I'm about 12 feet. There's no magic number away. The tailpipe's about 12 feet away from the car I'm burning. Same thing. We start the car. They get the pickup out of the way that has the batteries in it, and schedule fuel to the tailpipe, to the afterburner, light it, and just progressively keep going up in power. And it just obliterates the car. I mean, it just tears the thing apart. It'll send debris 100 yards behind it. I've ripped alternators, hoods off. I mean, once it gets into that engine compartment, everything just comes apart. And it's a fireworks show. I mean, there's all kinds of different colors because copper wire burning, aluminum. Did a Volkswagen once, which the transaxle was magnesium. It burned forever. And the crowd loves it. For me, I know they're enjoying it. It's not, the adrenaline's not there because there's no car in the other lane. There's no impact of the parachute. There's no 3G shoving you into the seat going down the track. I did buy a G meter years ago. The car will pull 7 Gs when a chute comes out because of its size, but only about 3 on the run. I mean, it's a continual push. It's not like a top fuel car where it just jams you, tries to shove you out the back of the car.
Amazing. Well, Jeff, you got a couple seconds for our super crew out there in chat world and see what they got to say?
You got it.
Hey, John, what's going on out there tonight?
Yes, sir. We're here from coast to coast tonight, and there's several comments and a couple of questions. And actually, Jeff, you answered the one about how much do the cars weigh. I know that you said yours weighs 2,750 pounds. What about the other cars? What do they come in at?
The guys with the small motors, I've heard as little as 1,100 pounds with the driver, but typically they're in at about 1,300 pounds, 1,300 pounds.
Oh, okay.
The funny car will weigh, a jet funny car will weigh a couple 100 pounds more. None of them are over, I don't think, 1,600 pounds.
Wow.
So I'm giving up 1,000 pounds very easily to any car that I'm racing. And, you know, I kind of foregone know what's going to happen. I'm going to get my butt handed to me.
Yeah, man, but it's a beast. That's for sure.
It's an adrenaline. It's fun. I mean, I don't regret any of the stuff I do. I wish, you know, my regret is I wish I wouldn't have bought front engine car and a rear engine car. I wish I would have done the jet 20 years earlier, because I was 10 years in both of those two cars, 20 years total. And that's just, I feel like 20 years of my life lost, but it was also good experience to judge speed, where you're at, focal points. I mean, you don't look at, I'm looking at the finish line before I leave the starting line. That's where my eyes are focused at. I don't need to see anything 100 yards in front of me. You're on top of it. You know, you need to worry about where the car is going 4 seconds later when you launch the thing.
True, man. And Randy Johnston said he's watched the Beast at Eagle Field, Kingdon, Famoso, and the now closed Sacramento track.
Yeah.
And Pete Moriello said, my favorite event was the Jet Car World Finals at LA County Raceway in Palmdale.
That's where I started. Yep.
Yeah, he said we would sit at the top end and watch the jets go by with the afterburners glowing orange.
There you go. And mind you that the stainless steel starts turning orange at about 1,700, 1,800 degrees. And that's something that I'm waiting for somebody to call and ask me about, how jets have had a real bad rap about we put unburned fuel on the racetrack. And piston cars that race behind us, oh, I can't get down the track because you guys you spray unburned fuel. Okay, wait a minute. Let's get some facts straight. Like I just said, stainless turns orange at 1,700 degrees. What do you think is going to pass through that engine and survive as a liquid? You know, paper burns 450 degrees when paper catches on fire. Lead melts at 750 degrees. Aluminum melts at 13, 14, 1450, 100 degrees. We're not talking melting. We're talking about stainless turning colors. So I for the life of me, I don't know what kind of fuel could go through that tailpipe and land on the track. It's not true. And if there was any truth to us wrecking tracks because we're a jet, pick an airport. And the only reason I know this, find a holiday weekend like Christmas or Thanksgiving. The airport shut down was a horrible storm. We got 1,000 flights are delayed at this airport, 1,000 at this airport. Air traffic controllers go on strike, another whatever. All these thousands of flights. They're all minimum of 2 engines per jet, minimum, because we're not flying a fighter jet out. So some planes have 3, some planes have 4 engines. But just say at a minimum of 2 per jet times 1,000 jets, quick arithmetic should be 2,000 engines going down a runway in a day's time. Do you think they close LaGuardia or O'Hare every night at midnight and have a bunch of guys sitting on tailgates at Rancheros and El Caminos with push brooms and grease sweep going up and down the runway cleaning the unburned fuel from the jet cars or from the jet planes? No, that doesn't happen because we're not putting unburned fuel on the racetrack. It's something that got started, an old wives' tale, well, way beyond, I've been doing it 31 years, so I don't know how many years. Maybe there were some jet cars that sprayed fuel. Nitro cars spray fuel on every run. They tell you, look, they dropped the cylinder. That's raw fuel coming out. Does anybody scream at them that they're putting raw fuel on the racetrack? No. And we're not putting raw fuel on the track, but we've got a bad rap, and we've got people in junior dragsters. I can't run behind a jet car. I got a go-kart engine. I can't get down the track. It's like, God, give it a break, kid. Anyway, sore subject with me.
Rob McCabe had a couple of comments that were pretty cool. He said, I went to that race in 94, 95, 98, and 08. He said 08 was the last completed one. 09 had been ended by rain during round 2. He said, back in the 90s, getting 8 jet funny cars and dragsters could be attainable and they're all competitive. He said, now it's like the funny cars are so variable, like the longest time it was Hanna and JFCs, and then the rest with a large gap between.
Mhm.
And he said he remembers when Al Hanna was determined to make jet car racing a legitimate NHRA class with Pro Jet.
Yeah. NHRA doesn't want that to happen. So the reason we can't race in competition, you can't have qualifying. If we have a speed limit, if a jet dragster goes 220 miles an hour the first time, I think it's a $5,000. But the third time it does it, you lose your license forever and get hit with a $10,000 fine.
Right. You're saying 320, right?
Got a 305 mile an hour speed limit on us. So we don't have speedometers. You can't look at a speedometer going through the traps. Right. 320 is a maximum we're allowed to go. The faster you go over 320, the fine gets bigger. They break it down, 320 to 325. The fine is this, and like I say, the third offense is the loss of your license.
Wow.
Got a speed limit on a race car.
We're getting a little bit of breaking up, Jeff, just to let you know. We'll keep an eye on it here, but
are we still together?
Yeah, we're still here, but we see how take a look at all the gauges there and see how you're looking with your power and everything.
Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear us? Okay.
Got it. I hear you now.
Okay. Well, John, let's get the next question and we'll get rolling.
Yeah. Rob also said Doug Rose and Fred Sibley.
You're coming through now.
Okay. Go ahead. Start with Doug Rose again, John, please. Thanks.
Yeah, Doug Rose and Fred Sibley Sr. would do those car burns too, especially at Atco.
84%.
Gotcha. Yeah. Can you hear us still, Jeff?
I hear you fine.
Okay, great.
I can hear.
Yeah. Let's go on with the next thought, John. Anybody else with a comment or question?
Yes, we have a few. My comment is the first time I took my wife to the drag races, other than meeting Pappy Hart and seeing Mike Edwards win his first Pro Stock Wally that day, the highlight of the day was the jets that ran after the Top Fuel final.
Yeah. I'm hearing you now. Yeah.
They went 300 miles an hour.
Are we still okay?
Yeah. Can you hear us still, Jeff? Okay. And we can't hear you anymore. Oh my goodness. We might have to do a quick wrap. We got a solid 40 minutes in, but so maybe we can get you back on the show. Or maybe we can take a couple minutes and swap to another section of the show and have you join us from inside or something.
Yeah. They went 300 miles an hour. I heard that.
Yeah.
NHRA put a 300 mile an hour speed limit on them that right after that, or something to do with that. I remember.
We were just discussing that, John. Sorry, got it. All right. Let's do. Let's take this. Let's do this, guys. Let's take a break.
Well, you were coming through. You tell me what you want.
Can you hear us right now, Jeff? Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll take a break. John, can we go and jump into the Racer of the Week, and then we'll see if we could rejoin Jeff in a couple moments, and maybe try to get him from inside.
Yeah, that's cool.
Let's do that. So thanks everybody for bearing with us. We're testing the limits of Wi-Fi and the beautiful mid-California evening, but I think we started to lose Jeff Atamian. So let's move on to JB and this week's Racer of the Week and JB's take, and then we'll see if we can reconnect with Jeff for the remainder of his point. He actually gave us a full 45 minutes here, but there's more to talk about. Let's see if we can get him back on.
Right.
Take it away, John.
Well, thanks, BP. You know, we had a few more questions and comments on the chat board, and I would recommend for after the show, let Jeff go over there and check them out because there's some really good comments made. And he was giving us a great interview. But getting to the Racer of the Week, yeah, my pick for Racers of the Week are Ricky Lionheart and Jody Frederick from Oakville, Missouri. Ricky's 1959 Cadillac Coupe de Ville is an outstanding hot rod, and I'm proud to feature him and Jody tonight. The Bad Cat has a long history in our sport, having been built and raced in the 1980s before sitting for around 12 years before it was resurrected and completely restored in 2022. And now it's an awesome showstopper and one of the most popular hot rods on the Midwest drag racing scene. It's an all-steel body with a tube chassis. The engine is a supercharged Hemi, and it is 2 tons of fun. It's 100% fully restored by Route 37 performance from stem to stern, and it runs all out every time. Steve Evans did a feature on the car at an NHRA event in 1993. It's been featured in Superstock and Drag Illustrated magazine as well. Ricky races it regionally and locally to great success. The Pink with Flames paint job is one of the best attention-getting features on this iconic hot rod. In my opinion, the 1959 Coupe de Ville is the pinnacle of American automotive works of art, and it knocks me out every time I look at it. Now, Ricky sent me this information before showtime. He said Leo sold the car after we debuted it for 5 years. Lance McGovern bought the car, and then he had it for 12 years. He loved it, and he was busy with work and stuff, so it sat around, and I kept calling and begging, and he let me bring it back out, and then in 2022. He told me to promise him no matter what we do, if I let you bring it out, make sure that we're famous. And I told him no problem. After we get the car back out, of course, after sitting around, you always run into problems. We had good success, actually great success with it, and it went viral. Mr. Fabulous Photography, Alan Smith, he was a big part of it. Kevin Hunt was a big part of it. All the tracks and fans love this car. They loved it. We love being at the small tracks, and people just think it's because it's all steel. It takes 4 or 5 people to pull that front clip off. It's literally 475 pounds, almost 500 pounds just for the front clip. You can throw a plastic magnet on it anywhere on the car. It had about 14 to 1500 horsepower in it, and I just changed everything over to all Hemi. It had a 4-speed BNJ centrifugal clutch, and I just changed that to a Lenco drive with a converter. I used to leave the line at 4,200 RPMs, and now I'm leaving the line at 8,800. Jeremy helped Frankie Taylor for years, and I put him in charge of tuning it and installing a fuel tech system on setting up the Hemi, and he's going to tune it to set it up and put us in the right direction. He used to crew for Frankie Taylor, so throughout all the time, his company, the Texas Outlaw Performance, is where this comes from. Everything we do is about family, friends, and spectators. Our next episode, we can tell you a lot more. I need to send a special thanks to Lance McGovern, my beautiful wife, my kids and family, Richard Elgin of their 7 Performance, and so many people that have helped us throughout time. The little things also count. Dwayne Johnson in Mount Vernon. He did a lot to beginning, and I just appreciate everybody, and I appreciate you, and I can't wait to do a face-to-face because I wasn't expecting this. Oh, actually, Tickle Fritz was the one that put a very first video out at XRP when you made it past the car at 1 o'clock in the morning. I greatly appreciate them, And thank you guys. Thank you for everything, and my wife thanks you. I will talk soon, and we'll do it again. Ricky says thanks to everyone who has been there for us every way, helping us to achieve our dream. Well, Ricky and Jody, y'all have a truly unique and beautiful hot rod with the Bad Cat. We wish you good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. It's a great way to spend an hour together on a Monday night. I hope you all have a safe and happy 4th of July, and we'll see you all next week. God bless America. Back to you, BP.
Thank you, John. Great stuff. And folks, we've been in contact with Jeff, so we're going to actually bring him back in and see if we can continue our conversation with Jeff. So, Jeff Atamian, let's see if we can get you back on, if you can hear us.
I can hear you. Start my video. Let me do that.
There we go. Woohoo!
Hey, technology, it's wonderful.
Beautiful. Welcome back. Welcome back. Well, let's go on. John, do you just have those couple extra questions from the team, and then we'll go on with the interview?
Yeah, man. Let's see. Pete Moriello said we would run behind the jets, and the burnout smoke was black with the dried rubber. And Rob McCabe said also when the track crew would spray lots of water behind the cars on the track so it wouldn't break down and choke up the asphalt after the afterburners. And Pete Moriello said, I believe I saw funny cars competing in funny car chaos events, which I guess he was talking about jet funny cars.
All right.
And Rob McCabe said, I saw Al Hanna and Mario Karanka at
Mario Karanka, yeah.
He saw him at Lebanon Valley in 2003 do burner pops, and the asphalt by the burnout box started flaking up and blowing backwards in big pieces.
That sounds like bad construction on the track, doesn't it?
Sounds like a little track prep issue there.
Track prep, yeah. And them spraying water isn't doing a thing. It makes the guy feel good with the garden hose, but I mean, that water just instantly evaporates. And if you're dealing with a concrete pad back there, we're not hurting anything. It's over the top of the pad. I've heard stuff that we're heating up the track, we're changing the track temperature. I mean, honestly, when the car goes down the track and the split second that burner's hovering over the asphalt, you think it's changing Mother Earth that fast? Nah, ain't happening. The biggest shows that we used to do is at Salt Lake City. Ron Kraft that ran Salt Lake City, the drag strip part, he brought in 20 to 21 cars every September for about 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know, something like that. 21 jet cars, the biggest show in the country, between jet trucks, jet funny cars, and jet dragsters. And I was talking to him on the starting line, and they were spraying what I thought was VHT down the track for the other cars because we had already run. And he says, Jeff, this isn't VHT. I'm spraying methanol. I go, what? He goes, it's the illusion. These guys think that they need VHT back then. He says was $900 for a 55-gallon drum. He's like, I'm not doing that. He said, I spray methanol. They think I'm spraying VHT. Everybody's happy. So there you go.
That's still not cheap, for heaven's sake,
No. And that's one thing a jet car does not need. We like a little bit of sticky on the starting line. Save your VHT. When a piston car kicks the rods out, they got to go spend thousands of dollars to manicure the track so they get sticky back on there. We don't want sticky. We don't need sticky. On the starting line, we need to stick on the starting line. Once we light that burner, why would we want anything to slow us down, like sticky stuff on the track?
Got it. Any final thoughts, John, from the team? Can't hear you, buddy. Are we muted? Yeah, we're muted.
Sorry, I was muted there for a second. Yeah, Pete Moriello said the heat turns the rubber on the track to powder, and that's what the piston cars slip on.
Wrong.
Oh, we're not going to have this conversation all night long here, though. Does anybody else have a question?
No, I think we're caught up for the moment.
Got it. All right, thank you, bud. And did you have a thought, John? I think you said you had a question or comment.
Oh, I
Or all,
already said my thing, man. It was
yeah,
about the day that I took Debbie to the drags the first time and we saw the jet cars run. They went 300 miles an hour, man. That was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Well, you can do that with the right setup with the lighter car. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let's talk about, your origin story here. You saw those first jet cars back in '67, which you said, and you said one day you'd wanted one, but what was it about those early jet cars that captured your imagination?
Well, I was a 12-year-old too at the time, so you go figure that out. They were running J46, which is a bigger motor than what we're running now. We're not
Right.
allowed. We have a restriction on like basically 4 engines that we're allowed to run, and there's a ton of jet engines out there, but you can only weigh so much as a jet car, and most of the engines out there put you into a different weight that's not legal. Well, back then they weren't worried about it, and the J46. I mean, when they lit the burner in that thing, good lord, your body quivered inside. What we've got now is a lot less power than those cars. And it's just, I thought those guys were like the Wizard of Oz. I couldn't understand how they could shut the engine off and get the parachute out, the timing, how things weren't burning off and whatnot. I mean, all my life until I got one. And I just didn't realize how stupid simple it is that when you pull a parachute, there's a pin at the bottom and it grabs both the fuel pump levers in one clean action as you're pulling back. It's pulling two fuel pumps levers and shutting the fuel pumps off or diverting the fuel from the pump to the engine. And then the parachute comes out. So that it wasn't the Wizard of Oz behind the big black cloak that was doing it. It's just very simple stuff. But when you're on the outside, you don't know any of that. I mean, I've had people today come up and want to know how the gear ratio and how do you get the power to the ground to the wheels. They think there's a transmission somewhere, and it's like I explained to them, you could take all four wheels off the car, put the chassis on the ground, start the engine, light the burner, and the car will go somewhere. It'll go flying down the track somewhere. Won't be able to steer it, but it doesn't need to have wheels. Oh, I didn't realize. I mean, I'm not talking 12-year-olds. I'm talking adults that don't
Yeah.
quite grasp it. There's just so much visual to look at, and the sound, the smell, the fire. And that's what got me, was all of the above. But never thinking I could afford something like that. And it took 40 years or something before I was 40 something year, 41 or 2 when I bought it.
Hmm. Well, actually, I didn't realize it was one fell swoop there where it shut off the fuel and released the parachutes at the same time.
Right.
That's a fascinating and very
Right.
simple, elegant
Yes.
solution.
And then there's one more lever. All the cars are the same. One more lever in front of the main parachute lever, and that deploys a secondary chute. And at the same time, it shuts a big valve off. So the fuel is coming out of the bottom of the fuel tank, going to a big valve, and then to the fuel pump. When you're in trouble and you pull the secondary chute out, it shuts that valve off. So no fuel can get from the fuel tank to the fuel pump. It stops at the valve. So in case something is going wrong, but that's the complete backup. And you never want to pull two chutes with the big motor car with the huge 16-foot parachutes. It's just too violent. The smaller guys, the smaller cars are using cross-form chutes like the piston cars are using, a little bit different style, but it's not quite as violent as a hit with them because they're not grabbing as much air in the canopy when it blossoms.
Amazing. John, you had another thought from the team or from yourself?
Yeah, I missed this earlier, and I thought I'd go ahead and mention it now. Ford Purley said Jeff is a great guest, and I love his enthusiasm. And Kay Thurkelson said Jeff is great at sharing stories. I hope to catch up with him in the Beast next month in Idaho. She said, I look forward to watching him burn down a car.
Awesome.
Thank
We'll
you.
get some.
And thank you, Kay, for introducing me to these two gentlemen and setting this up for us.
She's
Well,
amazing. We'll get some live video there.
Ricky Frederick asked, how long do you intend to race?
Damn good question. I just turned 40 31 years ago. So I guess when the doctor or NHRA says pack it, until then, I'm not ready to quit. Nah. I can't answer the question because I haven't even put a date on retiring the jet car. I'd probably go nuts. And now what do I do? I can't go any better than a jet car. I'd love to go piston racing, but I see what it takes to have a nitro car. And you start with $5 million, and at the end of the year, you've got $1 million left. I don't want to do that. I mean, I can go have a great time on, and that's the thing. You can have one hell of an adrenaline rush. The fans love you. I enjoy it. And on a working man's salary on a jet car, what I did. I have no sponsors. I have no parents, had no parents with any money. So I did this all out of my own pocket. I had friends come along and help, a buck here, and physical help. But when you get into piston racing, I don't care if it's blown alcohol or whatever, it just, you're throwing parts at it. The cost is obscene and the reward sucks. If you don't have a sponsor, peak antifreeze or whatever, you can't afford to do this out of your own pocket unless you're, a millionaire, and I'm not. I'm not even a thousandaire.
Well, we're glad you're out there doing it for us. And just a couple more questions. I know we're kind of at time and we're a little out of order. You got a couple more minutes for us?
I got as much time as you want.
Awesome. Well, you've maintained it.
That's old people we don't go to sleep.
Amen. That's sort of true. We don't. Well, you've maintained an incredible 100% safety record over more than 50 years of racing. Yeah. What's the biggest lesson you've learned about preparation, discipline, or decision making that racers in any class could benefit from?
A lot of attention to detail, and I think that would be one of the things I would say with a jet car that could be a bad thing, is that we're not tearing the engine apart. We're not working on it like a nitro car or a blown alcohol, where or any other cars that you got your whole crew underneath the hood or whatever. The jet car is a lot simpler, and therefore you need to do the maintenance at your shop, at your house, before you travel 800 miles to find out you've got a cracked fitting, a cracked leaky hose, just a plethora of little stupid things. And it's boring. It's mind numbing. And, at first it was a challenge for the first 20 years. I hate working on the thing anymore because I know what I'm looking for and what I'm not looking for. And I think that's how people get hurt, is they're not paying attention to their race car, and but when you're, like I say, when you're working on it in between rounds continually, we're not looking at frame. I'm picking on all the jet car. Nobody's looking at cross members, uprights, and, no, we're not dealing with torque like a piston car is dealing with either. Everything's a push, but things still break and crack. And I don't know. I don't know if that answered the question correctly, but
yeah. Well, it got it done for me. So, okay. Before we wrap up, would you like to thank anybody, your crew, your family, the tracks that continue to support jet exhibitions, or any other people that helped make this incredible career possible?
I've got so many crew people to thank that have started with me. Some of them have passed on due to cancer and old age and whatnot. I've lost 3 or 4 crew people. One that was with me for 20 years died 1 year ago tomorrow. That kind of sucked. David's with me now for the last 3 years. He's been very good. He's learning. Came into this thing completely naked, not knowing anything about it, a piston or a jet car. In fact, I start the car right out in front of this house over here. I live at the end in the country, at the end of a dead end street, and there's a 600-acre pistachio grove right down behind me. And so he wanted to get involved, and I have one of those big cigarette lighters that you use, and I got suited up in the car. I chained to the ground. I've got an anchor point over here, and I told him, when I motion to you, you go back there and you light the afterburner. And so how do I do it? I just use the cigarette lighter. Don't stand behind it. Stand off to the side. And he was taking notes and taking all this in. And just before my brother starts spinning the motor up, I told him, don't do what I told you to do. And he didn't. But he goes, that would have killed me. Yeah, no kidding, dude. So I had to, not realizing he might have actually gone back there and done something like that. But that was kind of a funny joke. My brother, he's been with me since the first front engine car. I was 20 when I bought it. He was 14, and he's gone to many races over the years. And he's been very helpful. No desires to drive a car. He can sit back and analyze a lot of electrical stuff sometimes when things start acting weird. And, you know, that it's good to have people in the know. It's just hard to find anybody that knows anything about a jet engine. That's the problem. I don't want to turn somebody loose and go, here, go remove the fuel controller, take the pump off, or take the afterburner pump off. It might be, we're going to put another one. No, I'm not doing that. I know how to do it. Even though I'm 71 years old, I'll lay under the car and I will do it. That way, if anything goes wrong, it's on me. I don't want to, oh, I forgot to tighten it, or I didn't know you needed to use all the bolts, or whatever the excuse is. You know, so just do it. If you want it done right, do it yourself.
I love it. Well, you know, that, you know, the story with the young man and the cigarette lighter reminded me of a movie that you may very well have been in. Where did you remember seeing the movie Parenthood with Keanu Reeves and Diane Wiest and
Sounds real.
a number of other A-listers, but at one point there, so Keanu Reeves was a super comp drag racer, but they're at the drags in California, and Diane Wiest literally walks behind a jet dragster as they're coming up to do their bird pops. And I'm like, there's only a couple of those guys out there, and I wondered if that might have been you, if you remember.
No.
So maybe it was the Shake and Bake car or somebody, but it was ridiculous. It was, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago. But
I'll tell you a real quick one. And over here, when I first got the car, 1995, brought it home. Friends come over to help my crew guy, and we started it up out in the street right behind me. And this is 31 years, whatever, yeah. So it was not as many people out here, but we fired it up. And I mean, I was scared to death because it was first time I'm on my own. The guy I bought it from showed me how to do it. So bang, pop, smoke, and everything's doing what it's supposed to do. But I mean, don't take my blood pressure. It was probably off the roof. And we shut it off, and I get out of the car and take my helmet and jacket off, throw it in the cockpit, and we push the car back up into the driveway and sitting in the driveway out of the garage, out of the shop. And we hear noise, and we hear more noise. And then all of a sudden they pull up. 2 fire trucks pull up to the end of the street. The guys jump off. They're putting, and this is all on video, they're putting their fire yellow jacket on. One guy's taking the pick off the side of the truck, and they're just standing like this, looking around, and they see us standing, and they come walking up the drive, and goes, there a problem? And next thing you know, we're talking to them. The fire marshal shows up. My friend pulls me into the garage, because right now everybody's ha-ha slapping each other on the back, having a good time, fire us. And my friend pulls me and he says, don't screw with the fire marshal. He says, he can charge you for all this stuff. Don't say nothing stupid. Don't, you know. Now I'm scared. I'm thinking, oh God. So the fire marshal comes and, you know, he just does this. He's shaking his head, and I go, am I in trouble? And he goes, no. He says, we had 7 phone calls, and he says, the last call, the lady saw the jet crash in the field down right here. I go, what? And probably the smoke from the afterburner and dust getting kicked out. And he goes, you know, he says, everything's okay. He goes, but do me a favor. And I says, yeah. He goes, next time you're going to do this, would you call us? And I go, that way you guys will know that we're doing. He goes, no. He says, I want to come and see it. So he gave me his phone number, the fire marshal. I called him about 2 months later. We did it again. Here comes the red fire truck. There's 3 guys, a marshal, and they pull across the street in the empty lot, sit on top of the truck. I get belted in, fire suit, everything, fire the car up, do the burner pops. We're looking for potential leaks and stuff, and shut it off. Everything was good. They gave us a thumbs up, and they drove back to the fire station. So now every year about March, about the time the March meet happens in Bakersfield, that's the start of the new year. My crew gets together. We push the car out in the front yard, just like we're going racing, except I buried a 600-pound steel well casing 4 feet deep with 600 pounds of concrete around it, and it's flush with the ground. Then I drop an axle out of a truck into the well casing, wrap a chain around the axle, wrap a chain around the jet car, just like we're doing a car burn, fire it up out in the street. I'll take it to 100% and just explode that burner out there. Every house comes out and stands and watches. They enjoy it. But before I do it, I drive to the fire department. It's only about a half a mile from here. And I'm the guy, and some of them are volunteers, so they don't know what's going on. I'm the guy at the end of the street, blah, 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 with the jet car. We're going to start it up, and I'll tell them at 12:30, it's going to run for about a minute and a half, and then I'm going to shut it off. You're going to hear some booming sounds. That's normal. Okay, if they hadn't ever heard. Okay. I says, but if anybody calls in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and says a plane crashed, there's an explosion, you need to respond. It is not me. I will do it 1.5 minutes, and then it's going to go quiet. Okay, really appreciate you telling. And that's how I do it, because be my luck, a plane crashes out there and the guys say at the fire department, don't worry, it's that guy with the race car. No, 12:30 to 12:31, I was done. I told you, if anything happens, you need to respond. There again, communication. And I've had 31 years of going out in the street and firing it up, and no problem.
Got it. Oh man, that's great. Community interest, the local hero.
I don't know about that. I'm sure some people are upset with me, but and I've had talked to people that, oh, you're the guy with the jet car. Oh, I heard you fire it up back in March. Where do you live? And they tell me in a straight line they're 5 miles from me. How do I go calling and telling people I'm going to start the car? And I'm going to do that because you're going to find somebody who's going to call the authorities besides the fire department and probably get me busted for being out in the street, because this is California. Right. I don't have license plate lights on my jet car, so I get go to prison for that or something.
You do one of those popular hot rodding photos they used to do where, the cop was pulling over the funny car or something in the street.
Yeah.
Well, oh my gosh, so much fun. Well, Jeff, how can folks follow the Beast, see your schedule, or where can they catch your exhibition runs this season?
I hate to say about following the schedule because I don't post it online, because then other people, sounds terrible, will go, oh, the other people with jet cars, oh, well, we could go to that event and we can call the promoter and say I'd run for cheaper, or I'm going to be in, and this has happened, I'm going to be in that area. Could you use another jet car? Or and we start losing events like that. So some promoters will jump ship if it's money that they could save by getting another car. They just want the noise. So I don't post any of my events online. It's unfortunate. Where I'm going to Woodburn, Oregon, like the 19th and 20th of July, 2 to 3 weeks. 3 weeks I'll be in Woodburn. 1 pass Friday, 2 passes Saturday against Richard Smith's Pyromaniac car. And then, I'm telling you stuff I shouldn't be telling you. And then we're doing 2 car burns in Meridian, Idaho, 1 in Meridian in August and 1 in Twin Falls at the Circle Tracks. And then I head to Albuquerque Labor Day weekend, and 2 passes Friday, 2 Saturday. They have nitro altereds there that night. And then we have a place called Kingdom in Stockton area, old runway that's been converted to a track, then back to a. We do a Friday pass, 2 Saturdays and a Sunday. That's been a tradition for about 12 years now. And then I don't know what I can't think after that. Oh, I've got some more.
Bottom line, folks, can folks go to your website and see it, so you update it just in time for them to know where to find you?
Yeah, www.jetdragster.com or whatever it is, whatever my website is.
That's pretty. You have a really great email address, by the way, which was like, early adopter. You are Jet Dragster. I won't say the last part, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was able to acquire that back in 1995. Well, my friend set it up for me, and he said, "What do you want to call us?" I said, "Well, it's a jet. It's called the Beast." And he said he tried to get the rights to the word Beast, which was a beer company and a candy bar or something like that. So he said, you can't use Beast or the Beast. What else would you call this thing? I go, a Jet Dragster? And he goes, let me see if the rights have been taken to that word. So, no, so I've got the rights to the word jetdragster.com. So I took it. And it worked out
1995, baby. We got started in 96 with dragless.com. So we were early adopters of the internet.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, as we wrap up, any final thoughts for the fans and what they should be watching for? Maybe how you see drag racing over the next couple of years? What's your plan for the overall scene?
That scares me because I'm watching TV and I'm looking I watch sometimes more of the grandstands on a slow motion replay than I'm watching the race cars. The top fuel, nitro, and the stands are just bad. Most of the events are so empty, as opposed to go on Facebook and look at stuff that was taking place in the 70s and 80s, and it was shoulder to shoulder people and race cars galore. Young kids, I got a nephew that just has no interest in his uncle's race car. He's now 25 or 6. Tried to get him to come over and take the impact and let's take the wheels off. Let's work on it. Notice, and that's what I see in most of the young people. Their grandparents may be racers, mom and dad, but the young people are just content with sitting, playing whatever they play with their fingers. They're good at it, but they don't want to go do it. They'll do it on the internet or on a computer screen. So what do I see happening? It's scaring me because I see less and less, more and more tracks disappearing. Every time you hear a track disappear, oh, we're going to build another one just out of town. It never happens. I mean,
Yeah.
90% of the time, it never happens. They go away and they're gone. Salt Lake City, great track at Rocky Mountain. Well, what does Salt Lake have other than that road course? There is no drag strips that I know of, unless they're building one. That since like 2018 or 19, when it left, when it went away, I think Amazon ended up putting distribution center or something there. And that's just keeps what's happening in California. Same thing. They just keep closing tracks because the land is more valuable to put apartments or shopping centers on than to put a racetrack on. So yeah, it sucks because we in California have to drive so much further. If you're in the middle of the country, you can go 2 directions, 4 directions. Over here, there's not very many places. You know, Pomona won't run a jet car, noise ordinance, even though they run top fuel. They fell on the sword years ago and made a concession to the city that we won't run jet cars here. So there's another one that's gone.
And you got 5 airports out there, though. You know,
yeah.
so.
Well, right now, yeah, yeah. So I don't know, because when it comes time to sell the car, it probably gets sold out of country. I think there's more demand in Australia, New Zealand, Mexico. I mean, countries that aren't worried about EPA problems, that don't even know what the word EPA means. And you know, it sucks because this is what we grew up with, and they just keep whittling it away from us. And I don't see it ever turning around. Just being able to survive would be great, just eking through.
Well, man. Well, hope we all get there better. I tell you what, though, Jeff, it's been such a blast talking with you tonight. I learned things from you tonight that I never knew, and I've been announcing these things for like many, many years, since the mid-'80s.
You ever have questions, call me. I'm here. I'll answer. Without all this stuff. This stuff scares me right here. You know how hard it was to get me on to get this thing lit up. The jet's a lot simpler.
We got it done. Well, thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff Atamian, the Beast.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the invite.
Have an awesome, awesome evening. We will see you down the road, sir.
You got it. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was awesome. Jeff Atamian, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go on and do the rest of our segments. Mr. John has already done his Racer of the Week, and JB Steak, thank you, sir. Just a couple more in the special events section. I have to tell you, we had such an amazing time at Mason-Dixon Dragway on Saturday and Sunday for the Rocking Chair Nationals. We gave out over 50 Lifetime Achievement Awards. Oh my goodness. It took 2 hours and a little and plus, but the weather was looking dicey as hell as we went into the weekend, but it was beautiful all day, cool in the morning. And believe it or not, and then the sun came out and was blazing warm in the afternoon. It was just a wonderful day, and got to talk to so many cool people. Gary Gore and the entire Gore family putting it on. Of course, Hayne Dominic lining it all up, the former IHRA president and man about town who does just about everything. Me and Mr. Jack Red rolled up the highway and saw so many of our great friends. So it was very, very cool. So if I saw you out there, great. If I didn't see you out there, we'll catch you at the next one. And also our Drag Racing Live YouTube channel just surpassed 168,000 views and 800 subscribers. 200 more to hit our 1,000 subscriber goal. So, tell your friends and please subscribe if you haven't subscribed so far. Let's talk about upcoming guests next Monday night, July 6th. Oh my gosh, it's past the 4th already. Jim Danko, the blown alter driver, going to tell us about going super fast with a super short wheelbase with a lot of horsepower in front of him. On the 13th, David Kennedy of the NHRA will be joining us. Looking forward to talking to David about everything the National Hot Rod Association has going on in its 75th anniversary season. And on July 20th, Eiley Stafford returns. By the way, Eiley had a fantastic day just this last weekend with a fantastic finish in her Nostalgia Funny Car. So we're just in time to catch up on that. And by the way, while we're at it, congratulate, we love all the NHRA racers and the IHRA racers, and all the success that they get is well deserved, and we appreciate them all and support them all. But our friend Maddie Gordon won her first NHRA national event in Top Fuel yesterday at Norwalk, at the Summit Racing Nationals, and we were so excited for her. And oh, by the way, car owner Ron Capps also won for a big double win there in Top Fuel and Funny. Oh, by the way, Maddie's dad Doug Gordon won in Top Alcohol Funny Car. So what an amazing, amazing day for some great, great folks. I have to tell you that Maddie has just taken the sport by storm. Our videos and our shorts, our reels of Maddie just exploded. And of course, having a chance to see her at Bud's Creek a couple weeks ago and we're just getting tons of hits on that little mini snippet I did with her at the Fan Fest. And of course, we saw her down at HPX, High Performance Expo in Charlotte when Miss Kay and I were down there a little less than a month ago. So super, super lucky to know these great folks. And I'm so excited for Maddie to get her first win, her Diamond Wally in her 10th start in the NHRA. Congratulations, my friend. And congrats to all the other winners. Amazing, amazing stuff going on this weekend. Let's talk about lost friends, folks. Some folks that a couple of weeks have gone by, but we didn't hear about them in time. So on June 8th, we lost Superstock racer Larry Stott of Landrum, South Carolina. Larry was a national event winner in his Camaro, a super tough racer, and farewell to him. On June 11th, Chris Roth of Mid-Michigan Motorplex passed away. Chris had been suffering from a fall a year ago, and his recovery was made worse recently by complications. I thought that we had mentioned Chris before, but I couldn't see evidence that we did. And so I want to make sure that we covered that to remember Mr. Roth. And then finally, on June 23rd, sad news, the great John Rodek passed away. It was a single vehicle accident up in Idaho where he is living now. But John Rodek, the great creator of the Rodek aluminum Chevrolet motor, the Rodek 481, re-engineered the Chevy 454, just basically a genius in terms of creating these aluminum motors, and kept rat-powered, Chevy-powered Top Fuel and Funny Cars going several more years as the aluminum Hemis kind of dominated the sport. So just I tell you, and then of course John was heavy in nostalgia fuel dragster racing with the Paso Posse, Gary Beck, and many other legendary members of Larry Minor were involved, and they were just a great, great guy. But farewell to truly one of the greats, John Rodek, 1939 to 2026. What a great racer. And his name is way over the drag racing lists and throughout drag racing history, not just because of his own efforts, but because of the motor he created and made so many other Chevy racers competitive. So our condolences, of course, to the family and friends of these great racers. Thanks for the thrills over the years, guys. Again, is our sad duty to say farewell. And so we do want to say, let me toss it to John for just a moment. John, your thoughts on the show?
I thought the Jeff Atamian interview was one of the best ever. The guy is just an amazing person, and he did all this himself, and I'm happy for him. He's had a great career, and I know he said something about 31 years. I think he needs another 31 years, and everything will be cool.
We'll take it. We'll watch it. I know I've been listing the beast. We list every drag car in the pro and semi-pro categories every year they run. So we got lots of beast entries out there. And of course, all his meltdown top alcohol dragster before that for 10 years. So Jeff Atamian, well represented on the drag lists, and for good reason. Thank you, sir. So we do want to thank Jeff Atamian for coming on. It was really exciting. Talking to him, learned a lot about jet dragster racing. Really cool guy, very technical and very fun. John Bachman, thank you, brother, for everything. Kay Turkelson, Sophia Roveda, Jeff Cormier, and Uriel Yamashiro, our super rock star interns. Pete Mariello, Rob McCabe, David Oakes, and Bill Kloss, both of whom put up some amazing photos from Norwalk. Thank you, guys. Mel Bashore, Ron Toombs, John Mernon II, who is filling in all those nostalgia photos for us, Dave Weslowski, and of course, thanks to Jeff Gilder for getting us our start. Special shout out to Nitro Alley. Thank you, buddy. And thanks in heaven to Danny White, our great, great former partner. Folks, please like the show, share the show, subscribe, and comment. Drop us a comment down below if you liked what you heard tonight. Check in on dragless.com every single day to see what's new. We do post every single day. And by the way, again, great photos from Norwalk from David Oakes and Bill Kloss covering the entire weekend. So go check those out on the front page. You can find us also on the Radio Bob Network. Thank you, Bob. And next Monday, July 6th, we're going to talk to Jim Danko and find out what it's like to drive one of those supercharged Balone Altereds. Until then, my name's Bill. On behalf of John and Kay and Rob and the rest of the gang, have an awesome week. Happy 4th of July. Happy 250th birthday, America. We're not done yet, guys. We're gonna keep on rocking into the future as a country